For as long as humans have existed, we have looked up at the sky and wondered. We have traced patterns in the stars, imagined gods among the planets, and built entire civilizations around a single question. What is this universe we find ourselves in? For centuries, we believed the answer was hidden somewhere far away, in distant galaxies, in the movements of planets, in the vastness of space itself. And yet, the deeper science looks into the cosmos, the more it encounters a strange and unsettling realization. The greatest mystery may not be out there at all. It may be here, within the very awareness that is asking the question. We live in a universe made of energy, shaped by invisible forces, governed by laws that seem precise beyond imagination. But this universe is not only observed, it is experienced, and that experience, consciousness, remains one of the most unexplained phenomena in all of science. So tonight, we take a journey, not just through space and time, but through the deeper layers of reality itself. From the birth of the universe, to the nature of matter, and towards the profound mystery of consciousness. Because perhaps to understand the universe, we must first understand how it knows its existence. Chapter 1: The Cosmic Beginning. Our story begins not with stars, not with galaxies, but with a moment beyond ordinary imagination. Around 13.8 billion years ago, the universe as we know it began in an event we now call the Big Bang. Not an explosion in space, but an expansion of itself, an expansion of space itself. Before this moment, there was no where, no when, no direction, distance, or duration. Space and time themselves came into existence together. This idea alone challenges everything our minds are used to. Because every experience we've ever had takes place inside space and time. And yet, science tells us that space and time are not eternal. They had a beginning. At the earliest moments, the universe was unimaginably hot and dense, not made of storms or atoms or particles, but of pure energy. In this primordial state, there were no stars, no planets, no matter, only potential. And from that potential, everything would eventually emerge. As the universe expanded and cooled, energy began to transform. The first particles appeared, then simple atoms. Much later, clouds of matter collapsed under gravity, igniting the first stars. Cosmic furnaces where the elements necessary for life were forged. Every atom in your body was once inside a star. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon that forms your cells. All of it was born in stellar explosions billions of years ago. In a very real sense, the universe did not just create life, it became life. But here is where the mystery deepens. Because even as science describes how the universe evolved, it remains silent on why. Why do the laws of physics exist at all? Why are they so precisely balanced? A slight change in the strength of gravity or the charge of an electron, and stars, planets, and life itself would never form. Some call this coincidence, others call it necessity, and some see it in deeper order, a universe not random, but profoundly structured. Whatever the explanations, one thing is certain. From its very beginning, the universe carried within it its conditions and the conditions necessary for complexity, for awareness, and eventually for beings capable of asking where they came from. Which leads us to a powerful realization. The universe is not just something we observe from outside. We are woven into its history. And as we continue this journey, we will begin to see that the line between observer and observed may not just be as clear as we once believed. Chapter 2: Energy becomes matter. In the earliest moments of the universe, there was no solid ground, no atoms, no structure. There was only energy, raw, undifferentiated, and everywhere at once. In this newborn universe, energy and matter were not separate things. They were interchangeable. A principle captured in one of the most famous equations in science, E equals mc squared. Energy and matter are two expressions of the same underlying reality. Matter is not solid in the way we imagine it to be. At its deepest level, matter is energy, slowed down and organized. As the universe expanded and cooled, energy began to condense. Tiny particles emerged, fleeting at the first, then more stable. Quarks combined, protons and neurons formed, and eventually, the simplest atoms came into existence. Hydrogen, helium. These were the universe's first building blocks. Over vast stretches of time, gravity became and began to gather these atoms together. Clouds collapsed, pressure increased, and stars were born. Inside the hearts of stars, something extraordinary happened. Simple atoms fused into heavier ones. Hydrogen became helium. Helium became carbon. And through generations of stars, forming, burning, and dying, the elements necessary for planets, oceans, and living beings were forged. When stars exploded, they scattered these elements across the cosmos. That scattered matter would one day become galaxies, solar systems, and eventually life capable of reflection. This means something profound. The universe did not simply contain matter. It organized itself into matter. Every rock, every tree, every human body is a temporary arrangement of cosmic energy. Even what we perceive as solid is mostly empty space. Atoms are vast compared to the particles within them. And those particles are not tiny spheres, but vibrations, probabilities, and interactions. Reality, at its foundation, is not static. It's dynamic. A continuous dance of forces and fields. And yet, from this invisible activity arises the stable world we experience. Chairs, mountains, planets. This raises an important question. If matter is simply energy in motion, if everything is built from the same fundamental substance, where does individuality come from? Why does the universe appear divided into separate objects, when at its deepest level, it is unified? To answer this, we must journey deeper into a realm where certainty dissolves and reality behaves in ways that defy intuition. A realm known as quantum reality. Chapter 3: The Strange World of Quantum Reality. At the smallest scales of existence, reality begins to behave strangely. Here, the familiar rules of everyday world no longer applies. Objects are not solid. Events are not certain. This is the domain of quantum physics, a realm so counterintuitive that even the scientists who study it admit it defies common sense. In the quantum world, particles do not exist in one definite space or place. Instead, they exist as probabilities, clouds of potentials that only take form when measured. An electron, for example, is not a tiny ball orbiting a nucleus. It is better described as a wave of possibility, spread out, undefined, and strangely everywhere at once. Even more unsettling is what happens when we observe these particles. Experiments have shown that the act of measurement itself changes the outcome. When unobserved, particles behave like waves. When observed, they behave like particles. This phenomenon is known as the observer effect. Importantly, this does not mean human consciousness magically controls reality, but it does suggest something deeply unsettling. Reality is not entirely independent of interaction. At the quantum level, the universe does not present a fixed picture waiting to be discovered. It presents possibilities. And those possibilities crystallize only through interaction. Another strange feature of the quantum world is entanglement. Two particles, once connected, can remain linked across vast distances. Change the state of one, and the other responds instantly, even if they are separated by light years of space. This connection does not transmit information in the usual sense, but it challenges our deepest assumptions about separation and locality. The universe at its foundation appears to be deeply interconnected, not as separate objects communicating across space, but as a single system expressing itself in different locations. What emerges from quantum physics is not a universe made of things, but a universe made of relationships, fields, interactions, patterns of possibility. Matter, once thought to be solid and self-contained, dissolves into a web of interactions that only briefly take form. This leads to a profound realization. The world we experience, solid, stable, predictable, is not the fundamental layer of reality. It is an emergent appearance, a surface pattern arising from something far deeper and stranger beneath. And here, at this boundary between the known and the unknown, a question quietly emerges. If reality is not fixed until interaction occurs, if the universe exists as potential rather than certainty, what role does awareness itself play in this process? To explore that question, we must turn inward to the most intimate and mysterious aspect of existence: consciousness. Chapter 4: The Mystery of Consciousness. Among all the mysteries of the universe presents, there is one that stands apart, not because it is far away, but because it is closer than anything else we know. Consciousness. We experience it constantly. Every thought, every emotion, every sensation. And yet, despite centuries of inquiry, science still struggles to explain what consciousness actually is. We can study the brain in extraordinary detail. We can observe neurons firing, map regions responsible for memory, and measure electrical activity down to milliseconds. But nowhere in the brain do we find experience itself. We find processes, we find correlations, patterns, but not the feeling of being. This is known as the hard problem of consciousness. The question of how physical processes give rise to subjective experience. How does electrical activity become the color red? The sound of music, the feeling of wonder. No equation has yet bridged that gap. Some scientists argue that consciousness is simply an emergent property of complexity. That when matter is arranged in the right way, awareness appears. Others are less certain. They point out that emergence explains when consciousness appears, but not why it exists at all. This has led to a quiet but growing shift in perspective. What if consciousness is not produced by the brain, but filtered, shaped, or localized by it? Just as a radio does not create the signal it receives, the brain may not generate consciousness, but tune into it. This idea, once dismissed, now appears in serious scientific and philosophical discussions. Some theories suggest consciousness may be a fundamental aspect of reality, not something added later, but something present from the beginning. In this view, matter and mind are not separate substances, but different expressions of the same underlying reality. This would explain something deeply familiar to us all. Consciousness is not something we observe. It is something we are. We never experience the world directly, only our experience of it. Every star, every sound, every sensation appears within awareness. Even our idea of a universe out there arises inside consciousness. This does not diminish science, it deepens the mystery. Because it suggests that something or an understanding reality may require more than measurement, it may require reflection. And perhaps the universe did not accidentally produce consciousness. Perhaps consciousness is the universe's way of knowing itself. To explore that possibility, we must look beyond modern laboratories and listen to voices that have contemplated this mystery for thousands of years. Ancient traditions that saw no separation between mind, matter, and the cosmos. And surprisingly, their insights may not be as distant from modern science as we once believed. Chapter 5. Ancient Wisdom and Modern Parallels. Long before telescopes peered into distant galaxies, long before equations described the fabric of space and time, human beings were already asking the deepest questions about existence. Across cultures and centuries, ancient traditions spoke of a universe that was not fragmented, but unified. In these traditions, reality was not divided into mind and matter, subject and object, observer and observed. Instead, existence was seen as a single interconnected whole. In the philosophies of ancient India, consciousness was described as fundamental, not something produced by the world, but the ground from which the world appears. In Taoist thought, realist flowed as a dynamic balance. Reality flowed as a dynamic balance, an ever-changing process rather than a collection of fixed things. Indigenous traditions across the world spoke of nature as alive, intelligent, and deeply relational. There were not scientific theories in the modern sense. They were experiential insights, born from observation, contemplation, and lived connection with the natural world. For a long time, modern science dismissed such perspectives as symbolic or metaphorical. And yet, as science has advanced, it has begun to uncover a universe that feels strangely familiar. A universe where particles are not isolated objects, but excitations of underlying fields. A universe where separation is not absolute, but contextual. A universe where relationships matter more than things. Quantum physics does not claim that ancient traditions were right, but it does reveal a reality far more subtle and interconnected than the mechanical universe once imagined. Modern physics speaks in equation. Ancient wisdom spoke in stories and metaphors. Different languages pointing towards overlapping intuitions. Both suggest that reality is not merely something we stand apart from and analyze. It is something we participate in, something we belong to. This does not mean science becomes spirituality or spirituality replaces science. It means that understanding reality may require more than one way of knowing. Measurement and meaning, observation and reflection. And perhaps when these perspectives are held together, a richer picture of the universe begins to emerge, not as a cold, indifferent machine, but as a deeply ordered, profoundly mysterious process in which life and awareness are not accidents, but natural expressions of cosmic evolution. Final chapter: reflection and integration. We have traveled far from the birth of the universe to the formation of matter, to the strange depths of quantum reality, and into the mystery of consciousness itself. Along the way, one truth quietly reveals itself. The universe is not a finished answer. It is an unfolding question. A question that expresses itself through stars, through life, and through minds capable of wonder. We often seek certainty, clear explanations, final conclusions. But the deeper we explore reality, the more it invites humility rather than certainty. Science gives us extraordinary insight into how the universe behaves, but it does not tell us what it means to experience it. And yet, experience is where all meaning arises. Every discovery, every equation, every theory appears within awareness. To fully understand the universe, but in seeking to understand it, something meaningful happens. We become participants in a story far larger than ourselves, and maybe that is enough. Not answers carved in stone, but a relationship with mystery, a willingness to explore without needing to conquer. Because the universe does not demand belief, only curiosity. And through curiosity, it continues its journey, experiencing itself.